explicit letter to censor anyone on social media who mentioned the possibility of a lab leak. It can't be true. The Lancet says it's not true. 27 eminent scientists say it's not true. Only a few scientists in the face of all of this dared to speak up. One of them was called Gilles Dumaneuf. He formed a group of researchers called DRASTIC. That's an acronym for Decentralized Radical Autonomous Search Team, something that all scientists should be. Jamie Metzel, the former NSC official, soon joined the group. Almost immediately, as early as April of last year, it was becoming clear to Metzel that the lab leak theory was not a conspiracy theory. In fact, it was plausible.
I think that if I had to just bet based on what I've read and logic, I would bet it's most likely this was an accidental leak from a lab.
So it turns out that Metzel wasn't exactly speculating on that. Unlike the scientific establishment, he and DRASTIC had evidence that they had bothered to gather. They found that the official scientific consensus had in fact been doctored at the source.
It's literally turning into worst case scenario.
I'm afraid that the latest data tells us that we're dealing with essentially a worst case scenario.
It's like a marble statue.
Problem with experts, even when they're, the good guys.
She's literally trying to raise a smile there, but
Peter McCullough and Ryan Cole, I think of them as good guys. They've been always outspoken about this. The problem with experts, once they have the area of expertise, they're afraid of stepping out of it, and this problem requires interdisciplinary approach. You have to build on not just on your knowledge of, say, biology, so they're focused on this mRNA aspect of it. But we're saying there are these other aspects such as electrical engineering, and we have some electrical engineers in our group, right?
The spitter, Janovitz. Janovitz the spitter.
This morning. None of that.
They're in the chat. Find the spitter, dude.
This morning.
Reached out to telecommunications experts to try to understand, these structures when they assemble, what could be the purpose, what could be the materials, and there are some really good.
But you can tell if someone's lying. You can sort of feel it in people. And I have lied. I'm sure I'll lie again. I don't want to lie. I don't think I'm a liar. I try not to be a liar. I don't want to be a liar. I think it's really important not to be a liar.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's...
I think truth is good for kids. We're so busy lying, we don't even recognize the truth no more in society. We want everybody to feel good. That's not the way life is.
I don't care how you get there. I don't care what you do to get there. The goal is to win.
What time is it? Game time! Woo!
Yeah, Mark's work from the past couple days. My stream yesterday was a little bit unhinged. But it needed to be. At some point, people need to see what it really feels like to be the victim of so many lies, of so many coordinated liars. That's the trick. That's what makes it so aggravating, is that they are not serious people. They are being paid. They are being paid to mislead. They are being paid to distract and occupy the attention of people on social media. And I thought for a long time that if I just made the right stream and tweeted it to the right people, that something would happen. And that's really the illusion of social media. The only way to do it is to get off. You want to drop a bomb at your next barbecue? Please tell everybody that autism spectrum disorder is a myth used to make sure that intramuscular injection is never questioned as a methodology, that virology is never questioned as a science, and that public health is never questioned as a reason. Pandemics and gain of function are also myths used to make sure the same things are never questioned. That's really the trap that we are in, and social media is used to enforce it. It's the walls of the trap. And if you don't understand why the cheese is free there, then you'll never be able to escape. That's really the end of it. If you want to leave a voicemail, there's a number there in the bottom left. If you want to send a self-addressed stamped envelope to my house so that you can get a sticker or a Velcro-backed tactical patch saying that Gigaohm Biological biology is the way, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to that address in the upper right corner. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the 6-year anniversary of the 19th of July, 2020, when I first went in my backyard at my house that I lost as a result of losing my job, a great house on a hill with 3 acres and woods. When I understood that they were misconstruing a background with spread, and I didn't have all the details necessarily right, but I was definitely explaining the idea that there were signals in the background that virology at the time would have called endemic, but these endemic signals were being misconstrued as spread. And the word endemic is also, of course, a myth that I've only recently realized. I just wanted to give you another substack.com/@Scottish and COVID inquiry, so you have the other web address for them. Why is that not starting? Play. Something's not happening. It's not making any noise. Oh, there it is. I had that volume all the way down for some reason. Why did I do that? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really happy to be here. Really happy to be here. It's been a long day. I've been trying, it's hard for me to catch up sometimes. I might have to be a little bit honest as I continue to focus on the biology and not take the bait on social media, trying to love my neighbors. I'm doing it by myself right now. I don't know if there are that many people that are aware. I presume that all of my antagonists are aware. Staying focused on the biology is harder when you're living all by yourself with 2 dogs and some fish and some chickens, which is what I've been doing for the last week and a half or so. And so it's been a little harder to stay focused on the stream because I have so much more to do in the background, including feeding myself. I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but my wife is an excellent facilitator of this stream, and without my wife here in the background, I need to regularly set an alarm or something because otherwise it'll be 6 in the evening and I won't have eaten breakfast. And it just has to do with the fact that there's another thing to do and another thing to do because so many things are done by her. And I always have a little hard time transitioning into this living alone situation. My family has gone to the Netherlands. Ladies and gentlemen, the way this works is that financially the stream is supported 100% by people who watch and share the work. And more importantly, it's supported because people share and spread the word each week. That's what I need more people to do. I got people like Jeff from Earth populating a very nice Instagram that you can share. I've got some shorts that are being cut by Jeff from Earth that he's sharing on Instagram, but I'm also posting on PeerTube, which is actually something I'm going to show you in a minute. And then, let me see. Yeah, so you got to spread the word. And we do have a website, GigaohmBiological.com. I know it's not the best name, but it's the one that I'm working with. You can see there scrolling in the middle, pure oxygen kills, intramuscular injection for healthy people is dumb. RNA cannot pandemic. You see, there's no other website. Yeah, my throat's a little bad. There's no other website on Earth, really, that tells you those truths right up on the 4 page. You're going to scroll down and find ways to support or get an email notice. You can also find that link stuff up there in the corner. And that will allow you to download some of the stuff that we worked on before, and you'll be able to download things in the future as well there. Let me drink something here. My throat is a little tired, but I'm not really sure from what. Yesterday's stream was 3 hours. I just got done uploading and transcoding a new version of it because PeerTube was unable to handle that 3-hour thing for some reason. I don't know why. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Let me transition over to the bridge here. Sometimes the PeerTube doesn't pick up the whole thing. Yesterday it dropped a few. Hello, my name's JJCouey, Chief Biologist at Gigaohm Biological, coming to you live from the back of my garage. Good to see you. My family is visiting Grandma in the Netherlands. My 3 kids and wife left about a week and a half ago. And so I've been fending for myself, basically hunting and gathering in the wilds of Pittsburgh and trying to find a shower every 6 or 7 days, which means I'm probably due for one now. I've been trying to get to the gym as often as possible, but some things just fall off. Wow, that's loud. Some things just fall off the ship every day, and so this coming online at 5 o'clock is one of those things where things just didn't get started early enough in this room, and so I didn't get to the end point quick enough. And I've been goofing around with a few of these things. Yes, yay, summer trip to visit Grandma indeed is probably all I really do this for, other than paying the bills. It's like the one thing that we maxed out our credit card this year to do it. You want to hear the honest truth? That's what it is. The honest truth is we don't have a very good credit rating. We don't have very deep credit cards, and we maxed one of them out for them to go to the Netherlands. So I need to do some more work. I don't know what's wrong with my throat. I need to somehow or another justify all this support that I get. Wink, wink. But no, seriously, I am thankful for the people who do support, because they do get me across the finish line just barely every month. I'm just kind of thinking how easy it appears to be on the internet to have, say, 5,000 subscribers. If I had 5,000 people giving me $10 a month, my God, what I would do with that. Number one, I would have billboards. Number two, I would have really cheap, can a nonprofit help? Yes, but I don't have a lawyer to help me do it. And in fact, 3 lawyers so far in Pittsburgh have said they would help and then vanished. And I don't know how to explain it any other way than maybe they're monitoring my phone or my emails or something and encouraging these people to stay away from me. But usually what's really weird is that when I have these talks with these people, one time even in person with a book in my hand, they are actually pretty intrigued by the fact that I've written a book with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and listed as an expert. They are pretty intrigued by the fact that I used to work for Children's Health Defense, his former nonprofit, now run by who I would call one of the worst traitors in America, Mary Holland. But at some point, I don't know. It's trouble. It's trouble. I just have to figure out a way to do this better. But this is definitely for all the marbles. This is for the grandchildren of Earth. So this ain't stopping. I'm not quitting. I just don't think getting a job, like at Chick-fil-A or something like that is going to solve the problem. I'm not going to have enough time to do the stream then, because it does take a lot of preparation. It's not like I just, look at a bunch of stuff online and then grab 2 things and throw it into the slide deck and do a show. It's tough to put the red line through the show every day. And it's tough to stay focused on the big pictures when, social media is so pollutant to your head. I'm going to switch down again to the writing line here. This is about the future of the Human Genome Project. This is about ending the FDA because the FDA is in the way. This idea that they should regulate the contents of packages and the labels and the safe and effective statements. This has all got to go, and that's one of the ongoing operations happening right now with the Trojan horse that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at HHS and this Marty McCary guy at the head of FDA. They are effectively taking all the teeth out of the FDA, and the reason why they were able to do it, the reason why we supported them being put into positions of power in relation to Health and Human Services was because we were fooled into solving this mystery of the lab leak. Scooby-Doo is a cartoon from America where a bunch of teenagers go around and solve a mystery, which inevitably ends up with the unmasking of the bad guy, who turns out to be just some dude from earlier in the story in a disguise, who's trying to scare people away from the money he's stealing. That's always what it is. And in Scooby-Doo, it was also very sexist because there were never any bad girls. It was always bad guys. Anyway, I think it's useful to watch old videos.
Oké, hartstikke bedankt en ik wens je een leuke Koninginnedag.
So Koninginnedag is Queen's Day. That would have, I think, been in April back then. They now have King's Day because that queen is gone. But in 2009, they still had Queen's Day. And although you don't understand Dutch, I do. And this guy is a dude who was on stage, actually, opposite of Mark van Ranst. This guy is Oosterhuis. And he is the postdoc supervisor of Ron Faucier. Ron Faucier is the guy who was really famous in 2012 for having enriched avian flu in ferrets and made it airborne. And of course, we've been talking about that guy for a long time. He's been in front of some of the same conferences that people like Ralph Barrick and Mark Denizen and Tony Fauci have presented in front of. So this is the Dutch version of that, where the Mexican flu in 2009 has supposedly landed in the Netherlands, and a confirmed case has been reported, and they celebrate it.
Ja, lijkt me zo fijn. Oké, goed zo. Hey, bedankt.
And the lady on the phone was that lady with the white hair who was on the Lancet WHO committee, and she's also Dutch, and I'll come up with her name a little later. But she's also a virologist that works for the WHO, and she has white hair, and her name is somebody probably already put it in the chat, but I'll come up with it in a minute.
Bedankt. Doei. Dag. Zo. Oké, nou dit is afgehandeld. Ja. Even de harde daar. Kom erbij zitten. Vertel even.
Come sit by us.
PCR-matrix gedaan, influenza A-matrix, die is positief CT20.
Matrix is a PCR test, and she's telling him what cycles it's at.
Wat is de achtergrond van de
23 cycles, and it's in a kid, he says.
Kindje uit Mexico teruggekomen.
Ja, hoe oud?
A kid who came out of Mexico, back home from Mexico. How old is he?
4 jaar. Oké.
10 years old.
patiëntje, die hebben we net hier bekeken, is ook door het RIVM bekeken. Charles heeft even contact met Marion gehad. Matrix.
Marion Koopmans, that's her name. He just said Marion, now I know her name. Marion Koopmans is the lady that was on the phone.
Positief. Ja. Knetterpositief.
Het is met 99%.
Knetter positief is very positive, right? That's yeah, he's very excited. A very positive 23 cycle count.
Ja, moet je mee uitkijken. Dit is een ernstige verdenking. Ja.
Waar is dit kindje?
Geen idee. Ergens in Nederland. Wij krijgen de samples redelijk alleen hier. Het komt via het RIVM. Dus het is...
The RIVN is the CDC of the Netherlands, or the NIH of the Netherlands. It's the Royal something of Science, wetenschap.
Net 10 minuten dat we het weten, dus.
Ja, dus dat zou betekenen dat we de eerste geval in Nederland hebben dan.
No, that means that we have the first case in Nederland. Oh boy, get the whiskey.
Maybe. Oké, nou goed, dat weten we vanavond. Alle verloven zijn ingetrokken.
Ja, laatste werkuur voor een vrije dag, altijd zo.
Waar is die fles whisky gebleven?
Je hebt het secretariaat voor de Kamer.
Wil je even vragen of Vloep nou even de fles erbij brengt? Het is 5 uur geweest, dus...
The fles thereby. Bring the bottle, please.
Charles, je ook een klein beetje?
Charles moet nog aan het werk.
Ja, ik ook. Oké, jongens, gezondheid.
Cheers.
Okay.
Gezondheid is health, of course, in German and in Dutch.
Dat we dit goed mogen aanpakken. Net na 12 uur gisteravond heeft VWS een order geplaatst voor 34 miljoen doses.
34 miljoen doses. 34 million doses just got ordered, and he got a text on his shit phone.
Succes.
I've walked through those doors. I worked in that building. I worked in that building from 2012 to 2016, just 5 floors below that. So I think they're on the 17th floor, and I was on the 14th floor. So that's why George Webb occasionally mentioned my name in the beginning and said that I worked at Erasmus. I must be a bad guy or some shit like that. Everything they've done has been done because I am one of the most inconvenient mother effers they never expected to be around. If you didn't see the very beginning of my show, the beginning is going to get better and better every single show from now on, because this timeline is just so frickin' compelling. It's all scripted bullshit. That was 2009 for the swine flu.
Deeply. So as the price of synthesizing viral genomes get down to about 5 cents a base.
This is 2013, and the famous Ralph Barrick telling you the lie from, well, not the lie, but the only thing that the Human Genome Project has accomplished is lowered the amount of money necessary to create large amounts of DNA or RNA and lowered the amounts of money necessary to sequence those large amounts of DNA and RNA. Make no mistake about it, right? Don't forget that the whole principle of sequencing actually requires you to make a lot of the sequence, right? They don't sequence any other way. If they use a millipore or a nanopore sequencer, then they get a very error-prone sequence. Nothing is determined. It's all probabilistic. And it's not very accurate. They get a different read every time they do it. But when you do traditional sequencing, what you do is you take something that you have only one copy of, and you make so many copies of it that it's pure enough so that you can see the sequence. It's basically it. And so you take the long piece of DNA that you want to sequence and you fragment it into a bunch of smaller sequences that you can then grow using PCR into large quantities of pure of that sequence so that you can sequence each of those sequences, and then you hope that those sequences overlap in a usefully self-eliminating sort of way so that with relatively little problem you can reassemble. That's how sequencing is done. And so what he's describing here is essentially the advancement of the technology at the heart of the Human Genome Project and telling you about where they are with regard to being able to do this stuff. And in the meantime, also telling you that the byproduct of this is that we have really fine-tuned the techniques to build recombinant synthetic sequences, and we can do it really, really cheap now, which means that we can transfect things. And that's indeed how virology is done. That's what gain-of-function viruses are. It's just the use of synthetic RNA and DNA in culture and in animals and calling that virology. And in reality, that's just some kind of Human Genome Project spin-off where they're trying to figure out how genes and proteins and how DNA and RNA and proteins work. That's it.
It's going to cost $1,500 to synthesize a coronavirus genome, which may scare don't want to say scare the hell out of some of us, but it does allow us to ask those questions in an affordable manner. The other way to do it even more cheaply is to actually clone out the spike genes and make, in essence, recombinants, where you drop the spike gene of different bat coronaviruses that you think may have appropriate properties that could be pre-emergent strains, and characterize their ability to replicate in human cells, both primary cells and other cells in culture. So those types of questions are doable. Even the spike genome, for example, is only about 4 kb, so at 10 cents a base, it's a $400 experiment. So I'd like to bring Linda. Now, maybe dual-use experiments are concerned. That's another issue.
He's laughing about it because he knows it's a script that he's on. He's got to bring it up. It's the whole point. He knows that there are people in the audience that are scripted to bring it up. That's what you need to hear here. And so this scripted bullshit has gotten us into a pretty big problem in the United States, a pretty bad situation, because these people aren't serious. They are paid influencers, and they are governing us via social media. These two dipshits at the top of the FDA are governing us with this faux You know, look at what we're doing. Radical transparency, lots of podcasts. I'm really clever. I go on the news all the time. This is all bullshit. And the only way that we dispel this myth is to get off of social media ourselves. That's why we're here, where there's this myth of endemicity laid down by people like Ralph Barrick. They have that power because of our acquiescence to social media. Otherwise, by now, we would have figured out that endemicity is a myth, as both a process and as an endpoint. But instead, we have an NIH director who actively tweets, goes on shitty podcasts, and promotes Substack journalists repeatedly on both sides. Because he's paid to do that. He's paid to work on X. He was paid, before to be on Substack, and he's doing it right now. Paid to have one, paid to be on them. Because they want social media to become powerful in the world, on the world stage. They want it to become relevant to politics, relevant to governance. And so these people were paid to perform on it, and they are still being compensated for performing on it. They were promoted for performing on it. That's why these people apparently don't understand. They could not see that there was an anticipated rise in all-cause mortality coming that could have bankrupted a lot of countries in the West, and that there might have been a reason for them to lie about something like a pandemic so that they could, use manslaughter and lies to manage it. And this problem is not over. I think you can see that very clearly from the population pyramid, that this problem is not over at all. This anticipated rise in all-cause mortality is not going away, and it's going to go up again, then down a little bit, and then up again.
Here's my question. How many additional physicians do we need to train to eliminate the primary care shortages and to get to the bare minimum?
So we have a primary care shortage in America right now that apparently these people, this is a scripted shithead. And the reason why you know she's a scripted shithead is I want you to watch the guy in the blue suit and her. I want you to watch what she's reading. I want you to pay attention for the mistake that she makes, the correction that she makes, and at the very end of the interview, what she does when she looks at that guy to say, "Didn't I do okay? I made a little mistake there, though." This is a theater being performed in Congress. And it's always been a theater, but we just didn't know for probably our whole lives.
Nationwide.
As I shared earlier, we are projecting that for primary care physicians, by 2037, we're facing a shortage of 87,000. And so we
need 87,000 by 2037. And so that means...
That sounds like a population pyramid problem to me. Like, you're going to have so many people that need health care because we have such a large old population, aging, unwell population. Wow. It sounds like they can predict that shit. This is from frickin' today in Congress, my friends. Today.
We've got a lot of work to do. And now I want to talk about something that's becoming even more of an issue for me and most of the people on this subcommittee. We have an acute shortage of geriatricians now, which is alarming at how fast the population is aging. Is that correct?
It's alarming at how quickly the population is aging. What's that? Really?
Correct.
Yes, that is correct.
The population is aging. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and that's why Title VII includes programs for education and training in geriatrics. Is that right?
It does.
Now, the Title VII geriatrics programs...
She's just reading. It's a script on both sides of this, right? You understand that. That's how big a trouble we're in.
Support the career development of junior faculty in geriatrics, and they help train the primary care workforce on issues relating to aging, among other things. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
In the 2022-23 academic year, over 67,000 healthcare professionals, students, patients, and caregivers received training under the Title VII geriatrics programs. Is that right?
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
Okay. Yes. Do you know how many people received the training in the 2023-24 year?
It should likely be about the same.
About the same, okay. So this year, the administration, instead of reporting those numbers in the fiscal year 26 congressional justification for HRSA, the administration instead proposed to eliminate Title VII geriatrics programs. And I think that's kind of the wrong way to go. I think Congress needs to double down on this work. So, Mr. Chairman, I that's one thing I want to talk to you about is the geriatrics program. In academic year 22-23, 59% of the graduates who received one of the scholarships worked or trained in medically underserved communities 1 year after graduation, and 30% in primary care settings. So I want to ask you, Dr. Chen, are students who go to school with this kind of a scholarship more likely to work in a medically underserved area after graduation?
We do find that across our programs that students that are supported by either our grant programs or our scholarship programs are more likely to practice in high need specialties as well as...
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is the Scholarships for Disadvantaged Students
okay.
program. I'm sorry, I apologize, I skipped a line.
I skipped a line. I'm sorry, you're answering the wrong question. I skipped a line. Now, when she yields the rest of her time back, watch what she looks at with this dude in the blue suit. These people are absolute shitheads.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and how many, have any scholarships for disadvantaged students grants been awarded this year?
We did not award scholarship for disadvantaged grants this year.
Why is that?
We did have competitions that were canceled, and with those canceled competitions, we did not make
Those were canceled by the Trump administration?
Well, the funding decisions were made across the administration between the agency, the department, OMB.
And DOJ?
I cannot speak to DOJ, but...
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady yields back. Now recognize the chairman of the full committee, Mr. Guthrie, for his 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank all of you being...
She smiled and smirked. She smiled and smirked. She's just a scripted idiot. And so many of these people, I think, are scripted idiots, run by people behind them, by interests, by weaponized piles of money. But on social media, we have an especially nasty situation going on because there's no elections there. It's just fake programming.
Here today, and Dr.
And so we're really supposed to believe that these people were not aware of an anticipated rise in all-cause mortality. We're supposed to be believing that people in government didn't see this graph displayed in this way and never saw that there was an anticipated rise in all-cause mortality that was coming for a couple decades. Ted Turner never did any TV programs about it. We've not been talking about the bankruptcy impending of the doom of Medicare and Social Security for nothing. We've been talking about it because of this. And this anticipated rise in all-cause mortality.
We got some exclusive breaking news today, and it is.
And we have Jay Bhattacharya going on shithead shows like this. Our NIH director is going on Real America's Voice. He should just be thrown out of office for this shit. I mean, at least the head of the FDA is doing his own podcast, for shit's sake. Paying some guy named Bigfoot to run the podcast. At least he's doing that. Oh my gosh, Jay Bhattacharya is such a traitor.
From a great
and
man.
Such a fraud.
Director of NIH, Jay Bhattacharya. Director, great to see you. Thank you for taking the time. I know you have an announcement to share with the audience here. Please, the floor is yours. It's very important. It's not going to make the front page of the New York Times, but it shows how the administration is focused on real results that benefit the taxpayer and science. Please, Director Bhattacharya.
Charlie, thank you for having me on the show and for giving me the floor to make this announcement. So one of the things that's sort of a little known secret about scientific publishing is that when taxpayers pay for research, and they do that through the National Institute of Health, lots of great discoveries are made. You publish it in a scientific journal. And everyone has these ideas about scientific journals as if they're ways like, clean places where people can convey scientific ideas to other scientists. They're peer reviewed. They vet truth. And some of that is true. But a lot of times, the economics of the publishing of the scientific publishing workforce, the publishing industry is actually not so clean. And in particular, what happens, we just made an announcement a couple of weeks ago, essentially saying that when an NIH-funded scientist publishes a paper in a scientific journal, that paper needs to be available to the entire public for free without any paywall. That happened, a couple of weeks ago. We put that in place. Actually, I think it was July 1st. We put that in place. A lot of the industry, some of the industry, responded by essentially by telling the scientists that they were going to charge the scientists for the privilege of publishing science in their journals. Think about that. I'm an author. I'm a scientist author, and
So what you need to see is that there's no way in hell that this is the priority of the NIH director. Just no way. This is just stupid. This is the stupidest shit of stupid shit. And I was at several barbecues with this guy over the last 5 years. I've talked to him at length. I've had him on my podcast once on this show. This guy is a fraud. He's a kind of an imposter or a fraud or he's an actor. He's a scripted fraud and likely being scripted by Robert Malone and Kevin McKernan. And I think that these people are all part of some kind of traitorous Trojan horse that more or less used Bobby Kennedy as a puppet and as a Truman Show. Bobby Kennedy is not sophisticated enough to know how thoroughly he's been played for nearly his whole life, and certainly the last 15 years. But Jay Bhattacharya is a part of it. Robert Malone's a part of it. Kevin McKernan is a part of it. Meryl Nass is a part of it. Mary Holland is a part of it. James Lyons Weiler is a part of it. That's just the reality of things. And they put Jay Bhattacharya at the head of the NIH because that essentially put Robert Malone and Kevin McKernan there. And he's useless. He doesn't have any business being there. He has the worst CV of any person in academic science because he did all of his degrees in one university, which almost, I guess, no one else has ever done because no one is allowed to. But Stanford allowed him to do it. I'm sure it's normal.
I publish some. I do some great advanced.
I can't even watch the rest of it because there's
before,
worse.
so I think it was the right thing to do. What should the NIH do? What policies should we adopt? And I think about dogs and cats going forward for the rest of the.
What policies should the NIH adopt going forward about dogs and cats?
Portfolio, which is outside the NIH.
Are you asking for my personal opinion?
Yeah, I'd love your personal opinion.
I don't think we should do research on dogs or cats. Absolutely not. I think it's unconscionable. I understand that there's part of the extramural portfolio that exists that predates you and I. Yeah. We are constrained under the law to leave those existing grants in place.
For now, but like to phase out. That's
but to phase them out, we are working tirelessly behind the scenes. We are doing a very critical assessment of the entire extramural grant portfolio to understand.
It's really bizarre because one of the implications here is that somehow or another science has gotten ethically out of control and we've got to rein it in. But at the same time, the FDA, under the same HHS secretary, is getting rid of animal trials under the pretense that we aren't put on Earth to torture animals. But the point of doing animal trials is doing trials on animals that you don't want to do on people, that you shouldn't do on people, because you don't have enough knowledge about the thing or the process that you're studying to do those kinds of experiments on people in a safe and effective and useful and whatever way. And so this idea that we just use cats because some people really hate cats and want an excuse to cut them up, or some people are really twisted and they just think that beagles are the funnest animals to torture, is just absurd. I'm not saying that any of these particular one experiment or another is justified. What I'm saying is that up until now, there's been a pretty rigorous system set in place, and there's only some pretty stupid examples of using dogs and cats anymore. The vast majority of academic research is done in mice and rats. The next step from there is monkeys. The cat and dog research this is bullshit. He is engaging in bullshit with probably a very unwitting, unsophisticated, not very in-depth biologist who's just doing what she thinks is right with her very limited understanding of the reality of things. I'm sure. Because this is just stupid. There isn't a single neuroscience lab in the world that uses a dog or a cat anymore, even though that Hubert and Weasel did all that vision stuff in cats. They don't do it anymore. And so this is just bullshit, is what this is. This is smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of nothing. And this guy is following a script given to him by people who are undermining our country. They will never, ever, ever allow this mythology to be broken unless we break it by ourselves.
Where different types of animals are being used and for what purposes, and to basically create an action plan to phase those out as quickly as possible under the law.
Well, Nicole.
And she says that really happy because, she's an animal rights activist or some bullshit like that, but she's not a laboratory animal scientist. She's not somebody who understands the principles behind, trying to choose the right model system to ask the question you want to ask. And ultimately what this is, like it or not, is people being brainwashed into fighting against animal testing in order to backdoor the justification for post-market surveillance of pharmaceutical products that would otherwise first need to pass animal testing. That is the reality. They are going to replace the animals with AI and with humans, with machine learning and human testing that they are calling post-marketing surveillance. Fuck off, Marty McCarty, and fuck off, Jayanta Bhattacharya, especially you, Jay. It's just brutal. I don't know what to say. It's just brutal.
If these agencies admit to their wrongdoing and they say, you know what, we are in a new era, the golden age, as President Trump calls it, and under the golden age, we are not going to engage in animal testing.
Animal testing is being discussed by Laura Loomer, who was on a thumbnail with Soph, the daughter of Sasha Latipova, in 2019, on the same thumbnail, making the same screaming face. So I want to take this moment to show you something on my phone. I'm going to slide over here. Oh, is that not on? Darn. Okay, I'm going to let this play out quick.
And so we welcome animal rights or animal welfare groups to approach us if they would like to help us find homes for these animals. And people, they would get so much good press. It's such a win. As you said before, there's literally nothing negative about any of this. And it's good PR. I mean, they should be doing this not for the PR, obviously. They should be doing this because they care about animals.
So she's talking to somebody called as the senior vice president of White Coat Waste, which I guess is another nonprofit organization. You can donate all the money you want to. And this is Laura Loomer, who was on a podcast, on a thumbnail of a podcast with Soph. So a whole series of podcasts always started out with the same thumbnail with a bunch of figures, like 6 figures screaming. And one of them was Loomer and one of them was Soph. Now, I just want to show you on my phone. I don't know if you can see it now here already. Yeah, you can. If you go to your app store and you look up, just don't know what it's going to show all the time, so I don't really want to hold it under there constantly. If you do PeerTube and search, you will find this app right here that has the little squid and the triangle, and you can do that. You can install it. It's a very small app, And what's really cool is you can add Gigaohm Biological by adding via URL, which is stream.gigaohm.bio. And then all of the frickin' videos that are currently going on will load, and they will be there as they arrive. And they play actually better on this app than they do on the PeerTube website. I shit you not. They don't stop. They don't like need to be reloaded. Like the PeerTube website is not that great, but this thing plays the videos really, really well and serves them up as they arrive in the feed. And so it's actually really awesome because you don't need to log in. It'll say, you're now on Gigaohm Biological. Do you want to log in? But you know there's no login there, so you don't need to. You can just close it, and then in the background there will be this Gigaohm, and you can click on it and it'll go there. And this is a free app. And so, you know, not only that, but of course there's lots of other peer tubes you can look for. Well, maybe now it's not working right for that reason, but I can show you that it can find lots of other peer tubes as well. But you can just enter in the URL stream.gigaohm.bio, and then when you open PeerTube on your phone, it will just be here. The other thing to realize is that this app is not going to make you make a new login. It's just going to call you like Sepia the Squidfish or something like that. And Sepia the Squidfish is just your local account that allows you to save videos and whatever. And so if I show you right now, I go like this, it just says Sepia the Cuttlefish is my local account. I don't get to put my name in there. I don't need to put my name in there. And so this is a way for you to watch our work without having a login, without having to have algorithms, and without having to see anybody else's videos except for Mark's and mine. And if Mark was to do a separate PeerTube instance someday, then there would be just a Gigaohm PeerTube and a Housatonic PeerTube at the top, and you could switch between the two of them. And so I think, wholeheartedly, I believe that that's what we should be moving forward to. I don't see any reason. This app is so tiny, and it doesn't work that great. For example, you know, it's so simple that if you play one video, and then you have it playing, I'll just move it forward. Watch how this works. Well, now it won't work, right? Because I'm there. Just skip it, really easy. But if you put it down, like if you put it like this, and then you come back out, and you look at something else, like you do this, I don't know how to get it back up. I can't get it back up. I don't know how to get it back up. Here's Explore, so you can see all kinds of other people show up on PeerTube, but you can go back to home, and then it'll just be Gigaohm Biological. But the only problem is there, I don't really know how to get the video that you were watching to come back up. It just stays audio. So in that case, you have to quit the app and come back. But that's such a small glitch for how well it plays. So again, I can't stress enough how happy I am that it finally works. We've had to do a little tweaking, but essentially on your desktop, you will just have this little squid, and it'll say PeerTube, and you could even rename that and call it Gigaohm, and then you'd have a Gigaohm on your desktop and on your phone, and it also works on my iPad. So I think that's really, really great. It's a lot better than having a bookmark. And it's cool because it's on your phone. I think it's really kick-ass. It's been a while in the making. I knew that the app was there, but there were some things that weren't working right, and now they're working right. So all you got to do is enter in the URL, stream.gigaohm.bio, and then the thing self-populates. And now you have it on your phone, on your desktop. Like I said, with no logins, no passwords. It's badass. It's really, really badass. You got to work. Have a good work, Brother Spoon. Have a good work.
But let's be honest. A lot of these people in Washington, D.C. are very selfish, and they only care about their own image, and they care about how an issue can be used. I mean, you know how it can be used to advance their own agenda. And so if you're Dr. J. Bhattacharya, what do you want to have? Do you want to have stories about how you are basically the new Anthony Fauci torturing animals, or do you want people to praise you? You seem to love getting flowers sent to him by PETA. So more people, Dr. J, if you're watching and listening to this episode, will send you flowers. I will send you flowers if you shut down these these labs and allow for these animals to be released.
So there's a video on Gigaohm Biological
that
called Sasha Sof Anchor Can Sink the Boat of Traders with CHD Notes. And I think it's a really good video, but I couldn't get it to put into my stream today. Excuse me. So I'm going to just play it live over here on a separate recorder here, if that's okay with you. Because I think it's a really good video because it shows you the problem, right? It shows you the problem that these people are all connected together, from Jay Bhattacharya to Vinayak Prasad and Marty McCary and Robert Malone and Meryl Nass and Mary Holland and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Kevin McKernan and Jessica Rose and Stephanie Seneff and Steve Kirsch and Brett Weinstein and Steve Bannon. This is all one show. And you can see it's all one show once you realize that even Soph kind of breaks the mold, breaks the illusion for everybody. It really does. It breaks the illusion for me. That's for darn sure. Whoops, over here. This needs to be up there. There we go. Oops. And so...
Oh, maybe all the cops in the room.
This is her daughter.
UK cops,
like your kid become trans.
Put them
Yeah,
down.
they're just following orders.
UK cops, kill them all. If you live in the UK and you take a gun and go to your local police station and happen to kill, maybe all the cops in the room. It might not be the...
This is the daughter of Sasha Latipova before the pandemic. This is the daughter of Sasha Latipova that was promoted by Alex Jones. Sasha Latipova was promoted by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Meryl Nass and Polly Tommy and the Epoch Times. And all of those people have ignored Brandy Vaughn and ignored Tony Bark since they were murdered in 2020. All of those people can't seem to say that intramuscular injection is just a dumb idea from the late 1800s. They've never been able to say it. They still have to say vaccine even now.
Worst thing in the world? I certainly won't be crying.
But I certainly find your story inspiring because even after every major platform removed you, you're still going on your own website. And I think that's a step that a lot of us need to take if we want to survive and keep making our content.
Wow. Okay. Well, I got $3, and
we have to do our own website, and that's a step we should take. It's interesting because I've done it. I've got my peer tube that also works on the app now, so you can actually have Gigaohm Biological without algorithms, without logins on your phone for like 60 kilobytes.
Want to survive and keep making our content.
Wow. Okay. Well, I got $3, and they're awesome, and they're smart. But I'm impressed. Tell me something about your parents and something about yourself. I mean, don't get anything too private, but whatever's okay for you to get into, because I think America really admires you.
Thanks. My parents are they voted Democrat. They voted for Hillary Clinton. They're left-leaning people, but they're fine with different opinions in the family. They think that's fine, and they truly believe in free speech. They don't necessarily agree with me, but they don't want to shut me down either because and I think that's a stance that more left-leaning people should take, that they should be okay with, ideological dissent.
So your parents are more classical liberals who actually believe in freedom and their children being able to think for themselves?
Yes.
School strikes are for the fucking birds. If you really want some change, get yourself an assault rifle and...
My parents are they voted Democrat. They voted for Hillary Clinton. They're left-leaning people.
Warren County teenager is now at the center of the latest free speech versus hate speech battle.
Yeah, one of her recent YouTube videos has led to a police investigation.
The teen's foul-mouthed outspokenness and rants against political correctness has made her a far-right media darling and garnered her nearly 1 million subscribers. Some of her comments have also made her the target of at least 2 police investigations. One concerned an alleged threat made against the CEO of YouTube.
So the allegation was that, a subject had a Luger, and she knew where the CEO lived, and she had called an Uber, and she had about 10 minutes to drop a will, and it wasn't going to be pretty.
The Tiburon Police Department determined that the threat was not credible since the 14-year-old does not have access to any firearms.
You might be wondering, how do I get in on the action, you know? What do I gotta do to be the lucky guy that gets recruited to do something crazy? How do I get on that action? Do it for me. Do it to save the white race. It was you guys and stuff here, just getting ready for the Pride Parade.
No.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I'm just here getting ready to go to...
According to Sasha, when she was losing her mind when we first started posting this video and calling her an abusive parent, because that's what she is, because she filmed this video with her daughter, she pointed out that her daughter's now 19. What I think you can see from this video, though, is when her daughter was 14, she didn't look 14. She looked a lot younger. And her mom took advantage of that. That's one of the ways, that was what made her so interesting, was because she looked like she was 8. And her mom made money from that. Her mom allowed her to be promoted as a young 18-year-old brand new adult on Alex Jones 3 times in 2019. This is not by accident that CHD then used her, that the Epoch Times then used her, that the other groups in the world like Panda and the Corona Investigative Committee in Germany, they all used her. They all used her as an actor because she is on the same shitty script first provided for her around, I guess, 2022, when she started touring the world with Robert Malone, including being on stage in Stockholm in January of 2023 with Robert Malone, Meryl Nass, Asim Malhotra, and Sasha Latipova, the mother of this shithead. And I'm going to call her a shithead because in this video, she's 19. She deserves to get the shit kicked out of her. She's a really shitty person for making videos like this. And it should ruin her adult experience for quite some time. Every time somebody finds out this is the fucktard that she is, it should ruin her days to come. And it should happen over and over again for the rest of her adult life. Because somebody should really have consequences for performing this level of shit. I mean, Sasha belongs in jail, but her daughter should just reap what she sows for the rest of her life. That's what I think.
The Pride Parade.
The Tiburon Police Department determined that the threat was not credible since the 14-year-old does not have access to any firearms. The Tiburon Police Department determined that the threat was not credible since the 14-year-old does not have access to any firearms.
I'm doing this for you, Hitler. I'm doing this for you, Trump. UK cops, kill them all.
I don't know what to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, but these people are the worst Americans alive. This group of meddlers that is orchestrated by Robert Malone and Kevin McKernan and Steve Kirsch and Steve Bannon and the CHD organization, these people are the worst Americans alive. And they've fooled a lot of well-meaning, conservative, Christian Americans into believing that they are something that they are not. And now they are stirring up a storm of stuff about what? Lab animals and publishing fees and more
something that is worthy
more nonprofits going nowhere like White Coat Waste. Ladies and gentlemen, these people are all on the same script. You're never going to change it. We need to start to turn on these people. There needs to be a preponderance of people showing up at the events that they organize and booing them and throwing things and sabotaging the event. We really need that, and we need it badly.
But you can tell if someone's lying. You know, you can sort of feel it in people.
All of these organizations need to be disbanded, but first shamed. The members of Brownstone, all of them, should be shamed. Bobby Ann Cox, one of the most fraudulent lawyers in America. The lawyer for Grace's dad, Mendelsohn, one of the most fraudulent lawyers in America. They're all exceeded, of course, by the king, Aaron Siri. But these people stick to a provided script, and these shitheads, I know for sure, deserve the worst for the rest of their life. I hope that the karmic delivery that they experience for the rest of their life is just It's just shocking. They deserve really bad random things to happen, like falling pianos. You can't possibly believe that none of these people could explain to you that the background was misconstrued as spread using non-specific PCR tests. They were there specifically not to tell you that. You can't possibly believe that none of these people have figured out that placebo would be a great way to fool everybody, that they would never transfect everybody. You can't possibly believe that none of these people could have ever thought of that. You have to know that they were out there to make sure we didn't. You have to know that these people could have known that there was an anticipated rise in all-cause mortality, and it has to be obvious to you now that not only could they have known about the anticipated rise in all-cause mortality, but they were put out there and elevated on social media to make sure that you'd never see it. That's exactly how this trick was done. It was an anticipated rise in all-cause mortality that's probably still there. And these people were put in place, and the only thing that all of them can't seem to see that supplementary oxygen is poison and that opioid deaths have killed a lot of people. They just can't seem to figure it out. Because they're all scripted liars. Traitors to our grandchildren, and they deserve jail or worse. They were put in place to curate a narrative to make sure that transfection and all of the shit that they could have anticipated that would come from it could be blamed effectively on the novel virus. And all of these people are traitors to our grandchildren for participating in it. There's no other way that I could make this slide.
It's literally turning into worst case scenario. I'm afraid that the latest data tells us that we're dealing with essentially a worst case scenario.
And the funny thing is, by skipping 5 years there, I skip about 3 years where I could just put in endless quotes about how Gigaohm's a shithead, Gigaohm's wrong, Jay is an idiot, dip, shit, blah, 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 blah. For 4 years in between 2020 and 2024, this guy spent almost half of his time on the internet, and that's a lot of hours, opposing me. And now after 6 years, you know what they've done? They've taken him and had him promote the mother of Soph, because he can't do anything for me or to me anymore. Every stream that he does about Mark and I reinforces the idea that he actually was recruited by Robert Malone and by George Webb, because that's why he was streaming in the very beginning with Paul Cottrell with me. That's why Charles Rixey, the one that Kevin McKernan says wrote the book with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., even though he was fired during the writing of the book, and even though everybody else who wrote the books know that he was fired during the writing of the book, this supreme liar and extreme traitor went on a very big podcast called Danny Jones and said that he's the one who wrote the book with Bobby. And that Alex Washburn was another guy he needed to talk to, who's now employed at the NIH by Jay the Traitor Bhattacharya. It would be impossible for me to make this video where this clown who spent 4 years making fun of me is now making fun of Sasha Latipova, who Mary Holland and Mike Yeadon are promoting as the leading thinker on COVID this year in the summer of 2025.
It's like a marble statue.
Problem with experts, even when they're, the good guys.
Who are the good guys that she's going to list?
She's literally trying to raise a smile there, but
he's really trying to fake opposition to Sasha there, but it's not really working. The kind of vitriol that he used to throw at me is very different than she's trying to force a smile. Do you see how pathetic it is? Do you see how pathetic it is? Kevin McCairn is such a fraud. It's kind of sad, really. He's just a short, fat putz. When I met him in Pittsburgh, quite frankly, I was disappointed. I thought he would be a little taller, have a little more presence. was like a fat Mr. Magoo or something like that. It's really, really very sad, actually. And that they are now so deep into their bench that it's really this mother of Soph and that retard up there are the two people that Mike Yeadon and Mary Holland say are worth talking about, really on the cutting edge.
Peter McCullough and Ryan Cole, I think of them as good guys.
Peter McCullough and Ryan Cole, she thinks of them as good guys because they've been speaking out since the beginning.
Stop lying!
I mean,
stop lying! Stop lying!
Remember, she was on stage with Robert Malone in January of 2023. So Team Robert Malone, the same team that was on a boat off the coast of Turkey for a week with Nick Hudson, etc. That same team is all these people. Steve Kirsch, Kevin McKernan, Kevin McCairn, George Webb, Paul Cottrell, John Cullen, John Goodman. They're all part of one stupid, shitty show. There are some higher level players and some lower level players and some people who sit in on the script writing and people who don't. Most of them are entirely too unsophisticated to sit in on the script writing. And like it or not, Kevin McCarran is only in this narrative because of me. If I was not causing the problem that I was causing as a faculty member of the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine, they would have never recruited that jackass. They recruited that jackass because he apparently did a postdoc with somebody who I now found myself working with at the time at the University of Pittsburgh. And that's how he approached me via email. I'm a dude. I saw your YouTube channel and I work with this guy that you work with now. He's a pathetic traitor. And the worst part about for them, for Sasha and for McCarran, is that those two are the ones that link all of these people together as one stupid show. If it wasn't for Sasha, he wouldn't be able to make such a clear connection between Robert Malone and CHD and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Merrill Nass, because they were all on the same stage together. Merrill Nass, the scientific advisor of CHD. Robert Malone, the guy with 3 books published by CHD during the pandemic. That's a lot of money that he's raised for CHD selling his books. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all one malevolent show that also gets promoted on the VSRF, the Vaccine Safety Research Foundation that people donate to and Steve Kirsch runs and probably takes a salary from. You know, Pierre Corey, the guy who testified for George Floyd that he was suffocated. Pierre Corey, the supplementary oxygen in hospitals in New York. It's really that bad, ladies and gentlemen. It really is that bad.
Been always outspoken about this.
The
problem with experts, once they have the area of expertise, they are afraid of stepping out of it, and this problem requires interdisciplinary.
So let's do this. I don't know really what to say. I feel like I got to take another stab at it. I'm going to go blank here. So intramuscular injection is just a spectacularly dumb idea from the late 1800s. Cutaneous immunization works, just not always predictably. That's probably why the smallpox variolation probably worked a lot. It also is very painful and causes scars. It's that simple. Number one is that simple. Intramuscular injection is just a spectacularly dumb idea from the late 1800s. Cutaneous immunizations probably work, just not always predictably, because they're also painful and they cause scars. People didn't really like them. So they transitioned to intramuscular injection, and it didn't go very well as far as Mark can see, but that's all you need to know. It's just a dumb idea from the early 1800s. We can just dismiss it. And there was an anticipated rise in all-cause mortality that remains and may even continue to increase in the future. In fact, that's what they might have been talking about there in Congress. This anticipated rise in all-cause mortality could have bankrupted many Western nations and is the biological signal being managed with manslaughter and lies. Many of these lies are told on social media by coordinated liars, scripted to in turn promote or oppose other liars on the same script. You see how easy it is? You don't really have to write a Substack. You can just write a little screen, one deck. A modern RNA virology also has been used to strengthen and extend this illusion. Claiming to find genetic signals in the wild, RNA virology then uses pure quantities of synthetic recombinant DNA or RNA transfection in both cell cultures and in animal models. This is fraud. Coordinated liars fooled all of us into solving the mystery of the novel virus. Where did it come from? Who's responsible? Participating in this theater, even passively, coerced all of us into accepting several false premises, including that we were all in danger and that we could all be in danger again in the future. RNA cannot be the basis for a pandemic because it has none of the special chemical characteristics that DNA supposedly has. When was the last DNA-based pandemic? Gain of function is a mythology created by the DoD and HHS to make an RNA pandemic biologically plausible. It is not. These injections were actually old technologies, sometimes differentiated as transformation, adenovirus vectors in DNA, and transfection for RNA. But these injections were actually old technologies that were just renamed and reformulated to be treated as new countermeasures, avoid regulation, and allow for the claiming of new intellectual property. This is fraud for which the PrEP Act emergency was a required moving part. Now the FDA will be made irrelevant. 2 nows in there, sorry about that. There is an irreducibly complex background of genetic signals around us. A huge percentage, but not all of these signals, are related to bacteria and bacteriophages. The use of PCR in both virology and medicine makes no effort to differentiate from this background with a capital B, using neither positive nor negative controls, as well as offering no reference scalar. The continued fraudulent use of PCR as a medical diagnostic creates a valuable medical remnant stream ideal for the Human Genome Project objectives. Oops, go back one. The health freedom movement can be seen as fake because of decades of failure to recognize any of these truths, especially number 1. And finally, there are witting and unwitting participants, but Ralph Barrick, Peter Daszak, Paul Offit, Mary Holland, Andrew Wakefield, Polly Tommy, Vincent Racaniello, Pierre Corey, Robert Malone, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are all part of one malevolent script. It is that bad. I think that's a pretty good summary of things.
The New York Times is reporting that Joe Biden's former chief of staff, Jeff Zients, was the one who approved the auto pen's use for the 11th hour pardons. That's the night before Joe Biden left office. They started pardoning all these people. The pardons included a preemptive pardon for General Mark Milley, a preemptive pardon for Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now, you are reissuing your criminal referral of Anthony Fauci to the Department of Justice. Your reaction to now Jeff Zients being the one who pardoned Fauci, okay? It wasn't Joe Biden. He was pardoned by Jeff Zients.
Yeah, my first question is, who knew? Who knew that there was a President Jeff Zients and he was in charge of pardons? I mean, it is really shocking and, in all likelihood, criminal. Now, will they try to backpedal and say Biden was somehow involved? I think that's what they'll try. But an auto pen pardon, preemptive pardon, there's a lot to go on here. The only way we could actually get this into court is hopefully the DOJ would do their job, indict Anthony Fauci for the felony of lying to Congress, and then take it to court. And then they can plead that he has been pardoned, but then the court could judge whether the pardon is valid. So the only way we get this into court is someone who's been pardoned will have to be indicted. And I would promote that Anthony Fauci is a prime specimen for this.
So I believe he said that he didn't do gain of function research. What specifically did
1 second. Let me drop out of here quick and repair this. Something broke. Do this and do this. Sorry about that. I just want to fix this one thing so I can transition better into this. Bingo, bingo, bango, dingo, dingo, Tango. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Delete. That will be quick and done. All right. Cool. Sorry. My bad. Where were we? We were at Mr. Man, right? Yeah.
The New York Times is reporting that Joe Biden's former chief of staff
is hopefully the DOJ would do their job, indict Anthony Fauci for the felony of lying to Congress, and then take it to court, and then they can plead that he has been pardoned.
I just typed it in the chat for you for asking.
But then the court could judge whether the pardon is valid. So the only way we get this into court is someone who's been pardoned will have to be indicted.
And so we're now debating about what the legal status of Anthony Fauci is and arguing about whether or not he covered up the lab leak, which is by design, because this is just a stupid script. It's really malevolent. It's really awful.
And I would promote that Anthony Fauci is a prime specimen for this.
Damn.
Paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum. They charge the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Hey, farmer, put away the DDT now. Give me spots on the apples, or leave me the birds and the bees. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Late last night, I heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. I said, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot.
That's one of those songs is way too short, but what a voice did Joni Mitchell have. The fact that there are people in the chat that don't know that's Joni Mitchell, that's some trouble. I'm going to forgive you for now, but that's some trouble. So let's just listen to this really quick because I want to do the buzz and the lying thing to make sure you realize how severe it is that the former research and development director of the Human Genome Project that was on Steve Kirsch's podcast alongside Kevin McCairn, my sort of clown car for the last 6 years out in the UK or in Tokyo with Charles Rixey and with Paul Cottrell. These people all connected together, met them all, tried to change all of their minds, was manipulated by them for years, so much so that I lost my best friend from college to the shot and a severe aneurysm in December of 2023 because of these people. They're murderers. They're liars, and they're scripted liars on all the same script. And so if you listen to this guy and you realize what kind of script he's
Ralph
talking,
Barick's the guy who arguably taught WIV how to create the coronavirus.
So Ralph Barick and gain of function teaching the WIV. That's already one of the mythologies that this guy is out there making everybody accept that if you make the right combination of bases in an RNA molecule, He can go from a mud puddle to everywhere in the world, including all the white-tailed deer. This is a traitor to our grandchildren and one of the biggest fraudulent men on the planet. He is a liar and a piece of shit. And yes, Kevin McKernan, if I ever see you in person, I will have a hard time not knocking you out. I actually might go for your knees, though, because it's something I could walk away from knowing that you would suffer for the rest of your life. If I just broke your nose, that pain would go away.
Taught who?
The Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Oh.
So there were grants that Fauci basically boomeranged off of EcoHealth into the WIV.
Okay, so now he's telling the whole story that even Kevin McCarran told in the beginning of the pandemic, that it looks like EcoHealth Alliance smuggled a bunch of money into the WIV and had them do experiments that Obama had banned. Yes, they were both on the same script in 2020, and this is the same script in November of 2024 that this shithead is reciting on Danny Jones's very popular podcast.
They put a gain of function ban on funding here in the States.
Right.
And
Obama did that, right?
Obama did that. And so what Fauci's creative way around that was, well, we'll fund a nonprofit called EcoHealth Alliance run by Peter Daszak, who will launder the money for us into the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Right. Therefore, it's not directly from Fauci to Wuhan. It's going through some intermediary. And through that process, they taught the Wuhan Institute of Virology how to do this seamless no-seam technique, which is a technique of assembling viral genomes so you don't leave any evidence behind. It's a ligation technique that uses a Golden Gate assembly.
There is the lie. It's not no-seam technology. It's not to make sure that nobody knows who made the virus. It's just Golden Gate assembly, which allows you to use a combination of enzymes to make sure that you get exactly the sequence you want, even if you have to join two pieces together. Golden Gate assembly. He can't help but tell you the commercial product that he's lying about because he's that big of a shithead. It's on his own script, and he frickin' stepped on his own dick here. It's his own script, and he just blew it by telling you that it's not no-seam technology. It's not some special baking technique that the fat-ass Ralph Barrick invented. It is a normal commercial technique that this fat-ass is lying about.
That it's a clever way of putting stuff together so that you can't tell that someone built it necessarily from a laboratory. However, they did leave behind some fingerprints that make us that got them caught, basically. You should, if you want to hear about that story, you should get Charles Rixey on here. Charles Rixey has helped, RFK write his book about this. And Charles Rixey's a Marine, and he's been like a dog on a bone with this problem. And he was the one who leaked the diffuse proposal. Are you familiar with the diffuse proposal?
No.
He was the one who leaked the diffuse proposal.
Stop lying!
He is the one who came to my house in January of 2022 and made me stream about the diffuse proposal. And that stream is supposedly the stream that made Robert Malone sit both Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Senator Ron Johnson down and made them watch it. And that's why they both called me in April of 2022. Offered me a job, asked me to help them somehow understand this, write them a brief. Kevin McKernan is one of the biggest frauds of American men. He may be one of the biggest frauds in all of America's short history. He's certainly one of the biggest shitheads in American history.
What is that?
So there was a grant that was proposed to the DoD to go build a weaponized coronavirus under the banner of we need to build a vaccine against this because if we can do it, the Chinese can do it kind of thing. And the DoD turned down the grant because they thought it was too fucking crazy. You'll have something that'll leak from this. But as anyone who's written grants, I've been involved in writing grants for our company. We got like $30 million in grants from the NIH. You don't apply with a grant not having done 80% of it.
Now, the funny thing about it is in Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s book, The Wuhan Cover-Up, Kevin McKernan is not listed as an expert as far as I know. Let me see here. No, he's not listed here. It doesn't say his name at all. And one of the quotes in this book, which I'm listed in and in the index for, is the quote that he just said, that you don't apply for a grant without having a lot of it done. It's that exact quote, but he's saying it now in the same little story that he's saying that Charles Rixey helped write this book when he actually got fired during his very short tenure helping to write this book with me. Why would the former research and development director, college dropout, Kevin McKernan, spend many, many years of the pandemic telling people that I'm chemtrail retarded? And yet the HHS secretary listed me in this book and not Rixey, not him. And why would he be almost word for word citing a quote that I am quoted saying in this book? It's kind of bizarre, unless you know that this guy is one of the largest, biggest frauds of American men that are alive today. Kevin McKernan.
It's just you're looking for the last 20%,
right?
Because you just can't. You need the grant process is so grueling and so competitive that in order for you to succeed, you have to have all this preliminary data that shows like we can get X done. We've demonstrated this piece.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
I think it's so fucking weird to be sitting here, bro.
Is it?
So strange. I feel like I've been like a video game observer, and now I'm like in the video game.
Are we on? Yeah. Well, you kind of are. I mean, it's weird. It's weird for me. You know.
Yeah, bro. Well, thank you for being like the #1 promoter of my YouTube channel over the past couple weeks, bro.
My pleasure. It's great stuff, man. I watch it all the time. You're really good.
It's just by accident that Joe Rogan is promoting Danny Jones with satanic people on and with lying geneticists on and come on, ladies and gentlemen. America can wake up. The English-speaking world can wake up to this deception, to this multi-layered, coordinated fraud. It doesn't have to be that Danny Jones gets it. In fact, it works better if Danny Jones doesn't get it, but frickin' Rogan gets it, and Buckholtz gets it, and McKernan gets it, and Kirsch gets it, and Malone gets it, and Mary Holland gets it, Brian Hooker gets it. They all get it, that it's a spectacular commitment to lies that got them this far, and it's their spectacular commitment to lies that will keep them in the show. They know that. They know that.
Great shows, man.
But you can tell if someone's lying. You know, you can sort of feel it in people.
Don't forget that this bitch was on Rogan lying, couldn't say it at all. In 2018, she could just say that she didn't think there was any way to make a safe vaccine. But for 3 hours on Joe Rogan, ever since Brandy Vaughn and Tony Bark were killed, I guess nobody can say it anymore. Brian Hooker can't seem to pull it out. Polly Tommy can't seem to pull it out. She was in frickin' front of the Senate yesterday, for shit's sake.
Is the self-proclaimed daddy of the mRNA vaccine. He still, to this day, talks about all the millions of lives that were saved by the vaccine and Operation Warp Speed. So that's problem number one. That's the guy at the top. And if you notice what's been talked about in the MAHA, it's everything but the mRNA vaccine. So that seems to be a blind spot in the administration. One camp says, well, there's a plan, be patient. The other camp says they're never going to touch it. So, I'm of the opinion that for now, that the deaths and injuries since Jan 20 are now on their watch. They own them. So from an ethical standpoint.
So this man is in place for the same reason that Nick Hudson is in place and that Denny Rancor is in place, because these guys have the professional background to know that there is this thing called the population pyramid. And if you look at the population pyramid of a lot of countries in the West, they have a problem because it's inverted. And it's a population problem that could be managed with manslaughter and lies. And this asshole cannot not know that because he worked for a life insurance company as an actuary, just like Nick Hudson, just like Denny Rancor has enough knowledge to know what he's missing because I told it to him, because it shows up in his own graphs, because this guy never shows a graph that it could show up in. These are scripted frauds. That's why this guy was on stage with Robert Malone. Just like Sasha Latipova was on stage with Robert Malone, because they are all one malevolent shithead crew.
They own what's going on by not talking about it and not removing the vaccine. If there's a plan to do that, I'm not privy to it, and maybe they have to, tread carefully. I'm told there's politics and
They are all going to have to live this lie for the rest of their lives. If he's shaking because he doesn't like what he's doing, it's probably because he didn't think he was going to have to do it for the rest of his life. But yes, Mr. Dowd and Mr. Malone and Miss Rose and Mrs. Glasspool Malone and Mr. Kennedy and Mrs. Holland and Miss Tommy and Miss Nass and Dr. Nass, you're all going to have to do this for the rest of your frickin' life until finally you either break or the public is just tired of it and realizes that you are the fraud that you are. And they will, because I'm not going to stop. I'll work at the Chick-fil-A drive-thru just to do this one time a week until I can't breathe anymore. And nothing renews my fervor than their continuous pollution of social media with their bullshit hamster wheel.
We need more data. I believe that's all nonsense. But they own the deaths and injuries and disabilities from Jan 20. So if they do have a plan, I guess that what they're thinking is it's collateral damage, because they're of the opinion they can't remove it right now. And whether that's because of Trump or because of deep state and nefarious forces, don't know, don't care. But ethically, they own all the deaths going forward. That's where my stance is. I'm an analyst. I spoke with many CEOs throughout my career, and I own.
Hey, Mark, he's an analyst like you.
Many stocks, and sometimes when you have access to a CEO, and I did because I had a large, sometimes I was the top shareholder, I would find when they ran into trouble, they would tell me to stick with them, but I just went with the data and the numbers, and I would stop talking to them because their job is to convince you to hang tight with them, whereas my job was to protect my clients and not lose money.
I think he's a fraud. I think he's a fraud because he could definitely have known about this incoming signal. He definitely knew about it. And he's in place to make sure that you don't know anything about it. He's very, very intelligent enough to know that this was sculpted using murder and lies, or manslaughter and lies. And he's also intelligent enough to have made this list and didn't make it. He doesn't know about supplementary oxygen because he's scripted not to. He's not figuring in opioid deaths as contributing to the loss of life expectancy in America because he's scripted not to. These people are all scripted not to understand anything, but just to repeat and read the script. That's why none of them in all these years have gotten to understand that endemicity is a myth, has both a process and an endpoint. They've never been able to come up with the idea that maybe they use placebo. That'd be a great way to get rid of the adverse events that were be expected from a transfection. Ladies and gentlemen, this is for all the marbles. This is for the grandchildren of Earth. So I'll be here tomorrow fighting again. Hopefully a little earlier than now because it's freaking 6:30. I don't even know if I can make it to the gym. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to get off social media. These people are not serious people. They are just there to occupy your attention with questions that don't matter. Get your kids off of social media, though. That's the most important thing. Get your kids off of social media. Ladies and gentlemen, intramuscular injection of any combination of substances is just plain dumb. Intramuscular injection is dumb. Transfection in healthy humans was really a crime. And viruses are not pattern integrities. I'm going to explain that for the rest of the summer. I love you guys very, very much. My name is JJCouey. You can find me on PubMed. You can buy my book, although that'll help Children's Health Defense, who fired me. And you can send an email to this shithead and give him a link to these streams because maybe he needs to know what I'm up to. I've also got a couple YouTube channels. I think I'm on JC on a Bike right now, but I'm not sure. Anyway, thanks for being here. You know how it works. You got to share the stream. You got to pass it around. You can also sign up for PeerTube on your phone. I think it works pretty well now. And you can go to GigaOhmBiological.com. I'm going to put a whole page there for PeerTube's app. And you can scroll down and find a way to support the stream. If you haven't done it yet and you've been thinking about doing it, if you've got like a house that you sold and you got like $100,000 in the bank, you don't know what to do with it, you can donate it to me. And I swear I will do the following. I will make billboards that say very simple things like intramuscular injection is a dumb idea from the 1800s. I will help other people like me build their own PeerTube channels so that we can all have a PeerTube channel on that PeerTube app, and we'll start to build a real independent bright web. Ladies and gentlemen, RNA cannot pandemic, intramuscular injection is dumb, transfection was a crime, and population pyramids are real. I'll see you soon.